Assalamu alaikum. Today we will complete with lesson 2 chemical reactions from module 6. Let us start with the focus question. How do enzymes facilitate life? Again, how do enzymes facilitate life? By the end of the lecture, you have to know what's the main importance of enzymes. Let's check the new vocabulary that we will take inshallah in this lesson. Chemical reaction, reactant, product, activation energy, catalyst, enzyme, substrate, and active site. Check these vocabulary before you start with the lesson. Let's start with the process, the meaning of process. A process, it's a series of steps or actions that produce an end product. Again, process is a series of steps or reactions that produce an end product. Let's start with a chemical reaction. If we want to know the meaning of the chemical reaction, you have to put in your mind that we have something called reactant and the products. So, a chemical reaction is the process by which atoms or groups of atoms in substances are reorganized into different substances. Chemical bonds are broken or formed during a chemical reaction. Clues that a chemical reaction has taken place, like production of heat or light, or sometimes formations of a new gas, liquid or solid. So there is many clues that indicate if there is any chemical reactions happened, like production of heat or light and formation of a new gas, liquid, or even solid form. Substances can also undergo physical changes, which change the appearance but not the composition. So, for the chemical reaction, you have to know that we have something will be changed during the chemical reaction that change the reactant into a product. Okay? Change the reactants into a product. Okay? There is many clues for the chemical reaction, like heat or light and change in the formation. Let's check the chemical equation. For each chemical reaction, there is a chemical equation which describes the substance in a reaction. You will find the reactant on the left side, then you have an arrow, then on the right side you will face the product. What do we mean by reactants or the products? Reactants are the starting substances on the left side of the arrow, while the products are the substances formed during the reaction on the right side of the arrow. The arrow indicates the process of change. It can be read as yield or react to form. Okay? For each chemical reaction, there is a chemical equation, and for each equation, you have to balance it. Okay? So there is something called balanced equations. In a chemical reactions, matter cannot be created or destroyed. You have to memorize this thing. In any chemical reaction, matter cannot be created or destroyed. So, all chemical equation must show this balance of mass. Okay? So, the number of atoms of each element on the reactant side must equal the number of atoms on the same element on the product side. This is how we mean, or this is how we can say this is a balanced equation. Okay, so for each balanced equation, you have to find the number of atoms at each side of the reaction, and the number must be equal. Like here in this reaction, this is the reaction of cellular respiration. Okay, in this reaction, you will find the glucose C6H12O6 plus 6 molecules of oxygen, which is O2. It will yield 6 CO2 and 6 H2O. 6 molecules of CO2 and 6 molecules of H2O. Let's compare the number of carbon at each side. On the reactant side, you will find 6 carbon atoms, while in the product side, you will find also 6. So, this is a balanced equation for the carbon. Let's check for the hydrogen on the left side. On the reactant side, it's a 12. And on the right side, on the product side, you will find 6 multiplied by 2, that's equal 12 hydrogen. So it's balanced here also. And last, for oxygen, you will find in the glucose 6 oxygen, and there is 6 molecules of oxygen, O2. That will be 12 plus 6, 18, and the end product also 6 O2 plus 6 O, that's 18. So there is 18 oxygen molecules. There is something else we can find into the reaction, which is called the energy of the reaction. There is, for each reaction, there is an energy. Let's check the activation energy. There is something called activation energy for each reaction. What we mean by activation energy? The activation energy is the minimum amount of energy needed for reactant to form product, which is called, again, activation energy. So again, what do you mean by activation energy? The minimum amount of energy needed for reactant to form products. That's amazing. Okay, some reactions rarely happen due to the high activation energy required. So from this statement, we can understand that as much as the activation energy is low, the reaction will happen fast. Okay? Look at this diagram. This diagram indicates the energy during the reaction. Look at the left side, the y-axis, there is energy, and the x-axis, we can find the reaction progress. The first point at the energy y-axis is called the activation energy. Okay, so the energy that is found in the energy that is found in this side is the reactant energy. Then this energy will be increased to reach the higher point, which is highest point in the energy. Then the energy will decrease. As you can find, this is what we call it activation energy. Again, this is what we call it activation energy. Okay, this is the activation energy. Is that clear? And then we can find after the end of the reaction, we will find that the energy of the reaction is decreased. Here you can find at the right side that there is a lower energy for the product. So in this reaction, you can find that the product's energy is lower than the reactant energy. Tamam? At this point, you can find there is a high energy that will be released during the reaction. So this diagram again indicates the energy, and you can find that the reactant energy here in the left is higher than the product energy, and during the reaction there is a release for the energy. Is that clear? So energy of reactions. What do you mean by energy of reaction? Energy during the reaction that will be released. Okay, so there is a change in energy in a chemical reactions like exothermic and endothermic. Okay, so reactions that release energy in the form of heat are called exothermic. Again, reactions that release energy in the form of heat are called exothermic. Exo, releasing. Okay, an exothermic reaction is shown on the left side of the next slide. You will see the picture in the next slide. This is the right one, which is the exothermic one. Okay, and the reactions that absorb energy in the form of heat are called endothermic. Endothermic absorb heat, absorb energy. Okay, an endothermic reaction, you will see it on the right side. Okay, so again, this is exothermic and this is endothermic. How you will know that this is an endothermic or exothermic reaction? Look at the reaction energy. Reactant energy here is higher than the product energy, so this is a exothermic reaction because it releases energy during the reaction. While look at the reactant energy here and the product energy here, the product here is higher than the reactant, so we can say that this reaction absorbs energy and we called it endothermic reaction. Is that clear? You have to understand the difference between exothermic and endothermic reaction. Have a nice day and thank you.